This is Albie Amankona, co-founder of Conservatives Against Racism. Great to have you back on the airwaves, Albie. I must say, it's been a while since you and I last caught up. But, well, look, what do you make of... Well, so start with Boris Johnson's lockdown issues, I suppose, first and foremost. I suppose he kind of has to say he can't indefinitely rule out a lockdown, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most poignant part of that interview that I heard just there, Patrick, was when he said it would be irresponsible for the leader of a democracy to rule out something which could save lives. I think that was probably the right line to take. No one wants to go into another lockdown, but I think we're probably in a place where that's looking unlikely, which is indeed what he goes on to say. And everyone very much hopes that that doesn't happen. But I think it would be irresponsible for the Prime Minister to rule out something which could save lives.
Absolutely. Well, let's just move away from Boris Johnson and the lockdown issue and focus a bit more on Rishi Sunak and some of the criticism of his wife. Is it all in good faith, do you think?
I think it's interesting that you pose the question about good faith. One of the lines that Rishi Sunak has been taking is that he's sort of suffering from a hit job on him, a hatch job on him. And there are allegations flying around Whitehall that it's like someone's either tipped off the Labour Party or perhaps it's come from Number 10. And he will have had to have declared his wife's financial interest when he became a minister at the Department for Housing and Local Government. So there will have been a handful of permanent secretaries and other advisors across Whitehall in the Treasury and the Department for Housing who will have known about this.
I mean, I've heard some criticism that there's an element of sexism involved. What do you think, Albie? You know, she's a very successful, independent woman of colour. And why is she being targeted for effectively being wealthy and successful? Do you buy that criticism at all?
I find it difficult to see where race and sex come into this, to be honest. I think the issue is around people's views on the morality of whether or not it's right that someone who lives on Downing Street is essentially participating in totally legal tax avoidance. And I think that is really where there are the differing points of view. I don't really see how her sex, gender or success come into this at all.
I mean, do you think that Rishi Sunak can come back from this? I mean, during the time of furlough, he was considered the magic money tree man, and very quickly, under what to some extent people would regard as relatively minor criticisms, he is coming under a lot of pressure and his poll rating is toppling. I mean, if you look at some of the criticism Boris Johnson's had over the last, his political career has been significantly more shocking than Rishi Sunak, but this seems to be impacting Rishi quite a lot.
I do think Rishi Sunak can come back from this. I'm a big supporter of Rishi Sunak. I think what he needs to be is honest and transparent about the situation. And quite frankly, the statement that his wife's spokesperson made earlier on this week, where she linked Mrs. Sunak's non-dom status to her Indian citizenship, has actually made the situation worse. They need to be clear about where the tax is being paid. If it's being paid in India, my understanding is that the tax rates are actually quite similar. So they need to be honest and transparent about things. At the moment, the picture is not very clear, and we need transparency.
Albie, great stuff, as always.